Hello, friends. Today we're talking just putting your nose down and getting things done. Now, it's kind of ironic that I recorded 2 podcasts ago on just self accountability and holding yourself accountable whenever you just don't feel like doing something, and then proceeded to miss the upload date the next day. Now, I know that makes me seem like a hypocrite, but I really didn't have Wi-Fi that I could have made it happen. And that kind of is the reason that this one might not look that good. I've been traveling a lot, moving apartments, so Wi-Fi has been hard to come by. So this one is being shot in 1080 in hopes that that means that I could upload in time and get it edited and all that in time to post this in a couple days. And I've been slacking, and I've had this realization that, I need to sacrifice the quality if that's what it means to still put these videos out. I think there is something to just being consistent. In the early days of creating, it's hard to be consistent. It's hard to push aside paid clients, to push aside the clients that are actually paying you to make a living to do this YouTube channel. It doesn't really make that much sense, but I need to, just figure out a way to streamline everything and just get it done. But we're not talking about that. If you want to talk about that, go back 2 episodes, and I talked about self-accountability there. That covered everything from just posting, starting a YouTube channel, how you can stay consistent, the different things that I go through on a day-to-day basis of me battling these different thoughts that don't make sense, but it's that whole imposter syndrome. It's that whole, it doesn't make sense. Why should I do this? I can't do this, blah, 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 all that BS that doesn't make sense, because you don't have to think like that. But today we're talking about just putting your nose down and getting things done. Now, this could be work, this could be personal, this could be anything, but there's always these stupid little mundane tasks that nobody wants to do. One that comes to mind for me, or 2 that come to mind for me, are moving to my new apartment, which I just wanted to put off because that meant packing, that meant setting up a bunch of stuff. And number 2 is I had to get a city parking pass. Now, getting a parking pass in the city of Chicago is kind of like going to the DMV. If you've went to the DMV before, well, it is the worst thing on earth. The people are so annoying. It's so hard to deal with. If you have one wrong thing, well, you got to come back, wait in the whole line. Pretty much the same thing. And these are the things that suck day to day. But I find that the people who are the most successful, that I admire for just getting so much done, they're the ones that don't sit around and wait to do this random BS. They don't sit around and wait to these things that nobody wants to do. You got to reframe your thinking, because nobody actually wants to go do these everyday things. Nobody actually wants to have to go grocery shop. Well, maybe some people want to go grocery shopping. You know what I'm saying, though. There are these tasks in everyday life that everybody has to go through, paying your bills and all that. And, the best people, the highest performers that I know, they just get it done. And there is something to that. I think it goes back to the saying, what is it? If you need to get something done, give the job to a mom, because they're the best at utilizing their time. There will be no BS, and they'll just get it done. And I know my mom is a perfect example of that. She just gets things done. We're all feeling lazy some days, but also you need to have these things at your house. You need to just do these everyday tasks that just suck. And for me today, it was recording this podcast, and it's also balancing editing and working out while I'm on the road. Now, whenever I say put your head down, the reason I thought of this, because I got a long week ahead of me. As you know, I'm a photographer, and I shoot a lot of real estate. Now, I'm shooting real estate video in Atlanta, Georgia right now. That's why I'm in a hotel room. And I'm actually flying tonight to San Diego for a full day of shooting tomorrow for more real estate. Now, after that, I'm going home for a little trip home. It's my sister's grad party. And then I'm off to Indiana for another shoot. That's with a construction company. And then I'm back to Chicago all after moving to a new apartment, and my apartment is an absolute mess back in Chicago. That's what I get to look forward to going home. But I'm not saying this to complain. I'm saying this because, this is life. I'm working. I'm grateful to have this work. There's been this TikTok trend going around where it's like, man, the 5-year-old me would love my life right now. And that's how I kind of feel right now. I always said that I wanted to travel and use a camera, and that's what I'm doing. I'm getting to travel for a week, get it all paid for, and enjoy these different cities that I'm in. This morning I had a sunrise shoot, so I was up at 4:30 a.m. And then I had this big gap throughout the day, so I worked out. Now I'm recording this, and I have another shoot later, and then to the airport. And this is all getting paid for, and I'm getting paid to do it. So what's better than that? You have to take a step back and realize, like, man, back in high school, whenever I was picking up a camera, if you would have told me that I would shoot for Nike, Jordan, Champion, all these different brands, like, I would have told you were crazy, especially if you told me I'd do it at 22 years old. It's insane. And I just kind of want to step back and realize, this next week it's going to be tough. Traveling is tough. And I want to also be grateful for it because not everybody has these opportunities. A friend of mine, actually Michael Kaplan, who was a guest on this podcast, I'm going to have more guests on, I promise. It's really just tough logistically to get people, and since I don't have a huge following, it's tough to get people to buy into it. But anyways, I was talking to Michael Kaplan, and he asked me a question whenever I told him I was going on this long trip. He asked me, do you enjoy traveling for work? Now, he knows me pretty well, and he knows that I have been fortunate enough to be able to travel for work a lot early in my career. And I kind of took a step back as soon as you said that, and the first instinct that came to my head was to say yes. But the reason my first instinct was to say yes is because the reason I end up making myself enjoy it or be more grateful for it is because every time I tell a friend, yeah, I went to Atlanta, and then I went to San Diego, and then I went to Pittsburgh, and then to Indiana, they're like, man, that's so cool. You get to travel. It's so cool that you get to go all over the country. And, like, it's cool, but it's exhausting too. And I kind of had this weird moment where I was like, yeah, I really do enjoy it, but it's hard. And people have to realize that whenever you're getting into this career, whenever you're getting into a career that you have to travel a lot for work, it's not easy. And a perfect example, actually, is my dad growing up. He was working his job, and the job that he had to travel a lot whenever I was a young kid, whenever my siblings were young. And he ended up changing jobs internally so that he could travel less and just be around more. To my knowledge, it took a toll on him, having to miss things, having to always be gone, to just work. And, I kind of understand it now. Not that I have a family at home, not that I'm really missing out on that much back in Chicago right now. But sometimes I feel it whenever I have to miss family parties in Pittsburgh because I live in Chicago. And so that gets tough, but it makes those moments that much sweeter whenever you actually get to see everybody. Now, traveling is cool, and I also think you have to find a way to balance the other things that you genuinely care about while you're traveling. Traveling is not an excuse for not working out. Traveling is not an excuse for me to not put out a YouTube video. Now, I know I used that as the excuse earlier in the video, but I need to hold myself accountable and consistently still post on all these platforms because at the end of the day, that's what I want to do. That's what I am working towards, and I don't think it's worth sacrificing things that I genuinely care about just for a couple bucks today. Now, I do have to make money today to pay my bills, to pay my rent, all that. But at the same time, I need to realize that there's a greater picture ahead. There's a greater purpose for me ahead that I'm working towards, and I can't sacrifice that just for $1 today. Now, that's a hard thing to think right away because we do need money. But I think this is the first time, and I've mentioned this before, that I truly feel like I'm on the right path, and I truly feel like I have a purpose when creating this content. I genuinely enjoy it, and I want to slowly put more and more time into it until hopefully it becomes my full-time thing. Now, whenever I talk putting your head down, to wrap this whole thing up, I'm saying do the things that you don't necessarily want to do, but on top of that, you also just do the things that you gotta do, and you do the things that are gonna be exhausting, but you're gonna end up enjoying them later. Like I said, the traveling's exhausting, but I do enjoy it. And like I said, these little things like packing my apartment up, moving my apartment, they're not that fun, but just putting your head down and doing it, it proves to yourself that you can accomplish something. Now, the only thing you did today might have been that one thing you didn't feel like doing, but you still accomplished something along the line. But you still accomplished something that day. But I think a perfect metaphor for all of this is working out. Today, I ran just over 5 miles in Atlanta, and the sun hits a little bit different here. And I was exhausted. I haven't run in a little bit. But whenever I had about 1.5 miles left, I was gassed. And I forced myself not to stop for that last 1.5 miles. And it felt really good at the end. You know, you push through these things, I don't want to run that last 1.5 miles. I could have easily walked it and got back much later, but I did it. And that's what these tasks are. You won't see the results necessarily today, but maybe it's just a mental result. Maybe it's one more thing to take off your plate. But just putting your head down and doing the things that you got to do, it'll help you a lot. I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out, guys.